Hello, first episode of Fantasy Friday, where in 5 minutes I'm going to give you some tips for your fantasy football. So this isn't a normal podcast, but it is very specific for those of you who are playing Fantasy EFL this year. Our league code, our mini league code, where there is a trophy on the line, as there was last year. There's a trophy on the line. You can join our league, and it starts tonight. This is out on Friday. The first game is tonight. Luton Town kicking off the season in League One. Against AFC Wimbledon, who are newly promoted from League Two. So that will be the start of Fantasy EFL. And I thought I would run you through my team, run you through some differential picks, and maybe why I've picked certain players and who you could be looking at to get the better of me and everyone else in the Rob Brown Red Mini League. So yeah, every Friday I'll be doing about a 5-minute video picking out some players. So for those of you who didn't want it in the podcast, it's here on YouTube. Okay, so you can see my team on the screen right now, and I'll talk you through that. But firstly, let's start with the goalkeeper. I really ummed and ahed here with Sam Tickle, who is one of the best goalkeepers in the lower leagues in the EFL at Wigan. He is attracting interest from Sheffield United, and I don't know whether it was that kind of interest that was putting me off a little bit. I mean, Wigan have got a favourable game against Northampton to start off. I don't fancy Northampton to do too much this season. And before we get on to it, no, I didn't pick Paul Mullin. I will explain that later. But Sam Tickle definitely was in my thinking for the goalkeeper position, as was Josh Keeley, who was really, really good last season with Leyton Orient. He will be in a dominant Luton Town team. But something about that very first game, that night game, that season opening game that I don't like particularly. So in the end, I went with Timothy Latutula, who is a fabulous goalkeeper, almost signed for Wrexham. He was actually at the racecourse one night when we played in the Virtue Trophy, but couldn't get international clearance to sign. And we ended up signing Brad Foster, and the rest was history. Timothy Latutula never signed, but he has rejoined Doncaster. Now, he isn't among the most picked goalkeepers to play. I think he will get the nod as the number one for Doncaster based on pre-season. They have a very favourable opening game at home against Exeter. I think Doncaster, as you can see from me picking them as one of my teams, will have a strong start to the season. And Timothy Latutula, I'm hoping, knock on wood here, will get a clean sheet. So he is definitely one to consider. Sam Tickle also, and I think Josh Keeley is the other really strong candidate in goal that you could probably have in most weeks, and he will do you a solid more often than not. Defensively then, I chopped and changed here so often, but two ex-Stockport players I went with. Macaulay Southern-Hales, who is going to be in a Bristol Rovers team that I think will get promoted. Darryl Clark's a really good manager. He's back at the club. Southern-Hales, wide player, will get in a lot of crosses. I think will get a lot of assists if he can stay healthy, if he can stay fit. And on the other side, Fraser Horsfall at Blackpool. Blackpool should be pretty good. He's one of the signings that I think he could have played in the Championship, really. I think bottom end of the Championship, Fraser Horsfall could have gone after a great season with Stockport. Other contenders here then, there are a few. Jason Kerr at Wigan. I mentioned Sam Tickle. Wigan are, again, going to be pretty good. Gillingham, they finished pretty low last season in League Two, but they are going to be, again, one of the sneaky good defensive teams. They had a pretty good defensive record, even though they were low down in League Two last season. Part of that was down to Neil Harris and how the season started, but they are very resolute, and they are away at Accrington Stanley. I almost picked a Gillingham defender in there, Clark specifically, Max Clark. But in the end, I've gone with Southern-Hales and Fraser Horsfall. Horsfall just because I think that is a strong, strong game at home against Stevenage. And again, for Bristol Rovers at home at the Memorial against, off the top of my head, Harrogate Town. So those are two strong. And to be honest, at the start of the season, I just want to get off on a strong foot, get off on a good foot, get some points on the board and not fall behind too much before it even got going. Midfield, there's an obvious one, one of the most picked, or the most picked midfield of our time. This is out. Over 51% of players have picked him. Luke Molyneux, one of the standout players. If you didn't have him last season, that'll probably cost you your mini league and cost you position, because he was a revelation for Doncaster Rovers, and he is my captain for the week. At home against Exeter, like I say, I'm banking on the Doncaster goalkeeper, my captain being for Doncaster, and one of my teams. So Rovers are holding a lot of my good fortune in their hands this week. I think he is a really strong shout, should definitely be considered, because so many players are picking him. You don't necessarily want to try and get too clever, too cute, too quickly. But there are, obviously, in midfield, there are lots of options. Davies Keeler-Dunn was in my original draft team. Barnsley away at Plymouth for the opening game. Plymouth, I'm not sure what to expect from them, Barnsley, I think, could be pretty good. But again, a road game, a long game away from Barnsley as well. And it quite makes sense. But a game far away from Barnsley against a team that's just come down, that scares me a little bit. But Davis Keeler-Dunn will be a very strong player moving forward. I think he is one to consider. Alex Gilby, MK Dons, I think will be right up there again. Isaac Hutchinson, Bristol Rovers, another really good option in midfield. Really try and look at the teams you think will do well consistently, because if you do forget to change your team, you are going to want players that consistently week after week. And also, if you're looking for differentials, look at Cambridge United. They are going to be much improved this season. I think they were struggling, got relegated out of League One last season, although they did manage to get points off Wrexham in both games. And under Neil Harris, they will be good. They've changed a lot over the summer. Any Cambridge United starting asset, I think will be pretty good. Brophy, probably the pick of the bunch for me in a Cambridge shirt. But I went with Gilby, MK Dons captain. I expect them to be right at the top end. I would have gone for Callum Patterson, who's recently joined from Sheffield Wednesday. They've got their own problems. But I just don't know whether he's going to be rip-roaring to go, and maybe Paul Warne, manager, won't chuck him in from the off. So I've gone with Gilby, solid, reliable. He will get you points over the course of the season. And up top, no Paul Mullin on this occasion, unfortunately. I think he will get goals for Wigan this season, but I've gone with Aaron Collins, who is MK Dons' lead striker. They are playing Oldham Athletic, who I think will struggle in League Two, their return to the Football League. Collins is one of those who's dropped down a level. I just think that will be, light work for him. There are others I liked as well. Michael Cheek, in Team of the Season for League Two. Bromley are on the road. I think that is a tricky game for them on the road. So I was just trying to play the margins, play the numbers game, and Aaron Collins definitely was my very first pick, really, for this one. And then Rotherham, they had a really poor season. I actually predicted them to go up instead of Wrexham, go up alongside Birmingham last season from League One. It never happened. Steve Evans ended up getting the boot. And Noam is a player that I think will be much improved. He had a decent season last season, and Rotherham, I just think they will have shaken off that kind of relegation hangover, and they will be right back at it. So that's my team. Couple of players that I think you should be watching there. Others, Luton Town assets will be hugely popular. George Saville, I think, is one that will generate lots of momentum as the weeks go on. Remember, this is just League One and League Two. Championship players will come into contention next week, and there are loads to get into. So that is my very, very quick and first episode of Fantasy Friday. Let me know your teams in the comments below. Who are you banking on as your captain this week? And who are you looking forward to using in the weeks ahead? Remember, our league code, Rob Ramrez league code, is in the description below. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe. And every Friday, it's Fantasy Friday.